everyone. I'm Katie Griffith with Bright Solutions. We are a technology consulting firm exclusively serving the senior living industry. And we are back again with another episode of the bright side of AI, where we really want to share with senior living providers the ways in which AI is impacting our industry and the way it's being used within senior living organizations. And today I'm so excited to have Stephanie Harris with us. Stephanie, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Katie, for having me. I am the CEO of Arrow Senior Living. We are a Midwest operator, and we're really excited to, over the last few years, we've been on an extensive tech journey. It's sort of innate in our culture because we started as an organization on the consulting side, and most of our team members are outside of the senior housing industry. So it's really kind of been a fun platform to build outside thoughts and new ways of thinking. And technology is one of the most opportunistic ways we can put those practices or that part of our culture into motion.
I love that. I love breaking out of our echo chamber and bringing in different perspectives from different fields and different life experiences. So that's really exciting. And what I think would be great to share, because you all are doing some really cool things with AI, but maybe if we can start with your AI journey. So a lot of folks are still thinking, I know I need to be doing something, I need to be getting ready or starting to pursue some things, but they haven't quite gotten started. So I'd love to hear how you got started, got off the sidelines, and then some really cool things that you're doing. If you could share with us some of the things that you are doing today with AI.
Absolutely. So we're very fortunate. We are on our 10th year actually, it's been 10 years since we had a full deployment of fall detection across our company. So we were really early on utilizing artificial intelligence for improvement of outcomes and looking at length of stay and how to increase length of stay, coupled with our sales process, find people earlier, just slightly more proactive in how they move in, and then couple it with better outcomes with earlier interventions in fall detection. We immediately started to see some lengthening of stay, which I was really exciting and certainly started to really create the business case for the use of this technology. But it really took off for us as we had this as like a system, as almost really a single stack solution around a single problem. And then we started thinking about how to plug it into the bigger picture. It took COVID for us to step back and say, in the middle of this crisis, we have all of these pressures on reporting. Something has got to get better because we have to now report on employee outcomes and resident outcomes, and the two systems don't talk to each other. And there really is no single source, and there probably will never be any single source for this information. So it forced us to really enhance our platform for business intelligence and integrate our enterprise level systems to talk to give us a more full picture of our operations. So just to meet COVID reporting, it tipped our team to build the infrastructure to start to track the information exchange we have across these two what felt at one point different platforms, but by merging how we organize our employees or employee-based information to resident information, we started to find more actionable ways to use the data for the business needs. And in doing that, one of the coolest things we did is we figured out how we recap on a monthly basis resident needs to meet state regulations and also to track care changes, and then figured out how to address pain points that in the staffing crisis, people had less time to do the administrative work that was often negotiated away around the urgency of the day to fill a shift or to make sure certain actions and tasks were completed. What got traded off were tasks they do on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, that something had to give. And so we figured if we could deliver some solutions to take that pressure off of those monthly and weekly tasks so that they could live in the moment, face to face, the bedside support and care that they desire in becoming a caregiver in senior living, that was a win-win for our residents and for the business. And so we started rethinking how we collect care points because we needed to cover the cost of rising labor and make sure that we had appropriately staffed communities to meet the needs of our residents and organizing the information of those two systems with some additional insights, we were able to start creating prediction around who had a changing condition, who needed a care fee change or a care service plan update that was more transparent. So on a monthly basis, we're reporting this out to families so there's no surprises about what is changing and what may be subtly changing or more significantly changing that we need to meet the need. And it took a lot of the emotion people had around approaching people about care changes, because it's often associated with a care fee change, and made it really a far more objective look by the information building the case and really showing the story. So it's translated for us to saving our nurses, our leadership, nursing leadership, 15 hours a month of what they were doing manually is
Wow.
now done in a scripted format with insights that is tapping AI all the way down through ChatGPT, cleaning up the language of the entries and how it then transfers to the families so that it has a marketing touch to it in an improvement in how we communicate. And it's been really exciting because for our company our size, we had about $400,000 in what we call care discrepancy
Mhm.
that now is, down to 10% of that, which is just your typical for 40 communities. That's our typical change of care that could happen across the organization just in a week to 2 weeks period of time. It really started to solve the business need of it. And then we now have that information turning on and off shift positions. So when care is creeping up, we get ahead of it versus, reacting. And it's really exciting to see to take the workflow away and shift the delivery of care in a little bit more of a proactive, anticipatory way.
Wow, that's incredible. Those results are incredible. And you took this opportunity during the pandemic to, that's when just the pressure was on so strongly that you said, look, something's got to give, right? We
Yep.
cannot keep this up. And so it really propelled you to really accelerating automation for those mundane tasks, right? And then the results that you just shared are incredible, even just financial results. But now those DONs are spending more time doing meaningful work versus administrative burden and feeling, having to catch up and pull all this information together and figure out and which residents do I need to be focusing on and
Yep.
that things are changing with them. They kind of know just in their head, but man, to just have that automation, have you felt that as far as feedback from them of, wow, thank you for lifting this burden from us? And I mean, I imagine it would help with recruiting as well. Like you come here and you don't have to do all those things, right?
Yeah. Much like many operators have experienced, implementing technologies, you're received in a couple different ways. Those who are like, this is unreal. This information at my fingertips is transforming how I can operate. It's augmenting their caregiving superpowers. And then there's others who, even though this information is available at their fingertips, they still think they have to go through the old school, old processes. So you will be met with reluctance. And I think what we had to do is we didn't want those who were wanting to transform the operation be overlooked because we were consistently trying to pull along the laggards, those who were wanting to do it the old way, or just because that's the way they've always done it, or they were almost a martyrdom out of the need to do this with this new staffing pressure, this post-COVID world, and all the added requirements and impact it's had on our operations. So we still have a mix of both types of individuals in the organization. And we've, in the same time, because we're winning and creating some success stories and where we've transformed, it does motivate others to rethink and to re-engage and to reconsider utilizing this technology. I can say this from a business case: year over year, we were able to reduce some of our administrative nursing oversight hours because of this. And so what it did is it transferred those hours to direct care hours. That means we were deploying more people to physically provide care versus those who were pushing papers and handling these manual processes. So we don't have everyone at the full efficiency, because we actually check our efficiency rates and know that we still have work to be done. But what we are committed to is we don't want to slow down. the process for those who are off to the races and looking at even new ways we can take this to the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah, change management is huge for this kind of thing, and it
Mhm.
is ongoing, right? It really is. And you hope that they start to see the successes in some areas and some locations and go, can we be next? Like you always
Yes.
hear succeeding when they're raising their hand. We want to be next. But yeah, continued effort. It's not just a one and done, like send an email and tell everyone about how they're going to do things now, you know? So,
Yeah.
so that's a great illustration.
Because we're in a 24-hour business, it's really hard to stop, fully implement, fully train, do things in an ideal way. It's like we are not a manufacturing line that we can just shut down. We still are running our communities and our business. So we often find the best way to get the broadest, most robust participation is to do it as we go. And so even though we may have those who are running and transforming and informing the improvements of the implementation of the various improvements we're able to develop, we know that the show must go on. We still have to provide care. And so the business was designed around the antiquated process. This is really about what we can do to elevate and enhance. And then ultimately, in our minds, it's what we can do to drive down the cost of care. And I think that's the end outcome. But you're never going to get there at the start. You're going to see some improvements that create some minor return on investment. And then those returns get bigger and bigger. But I think that the industry, we need to step back and say, how can we turn that into disrupting the core business model at driving down our cost of care and at the same time improving our outcomes? I think those two can exist, but they're most likely only going to exist where technology is removing waste and redundancy. And that's really what, unfortunately, our business model has so much manual, redundant, wasteful processes because systems don't talk to each other because people come with their own bias and their own learning curve or their own apprehension and by concerns about how technology will be utilized or how they can utilize the technology. The reality is we have to start somewhere, and I'm surprised the business plan we put for 2025, we met our first quarter goal, no problem. Here we are in second quarter, we're already done with the work we had set, so we're slightly ahead. So what does that mean for us third and fourth quarter of this year? I'm really excited to see what it will take, but this is a 4 or 5 year journey that there were the first 2 or 3 years, we were still trying to get the systems organized in an effective way and the right integrations and the right data modeling for the accuracy and the consistency of the information. And so this is going to be a journey that will be 1,000 steps. It's going to be something that takes a lot of time to get started before the payout occurs. For us, it took that third, fourth, fifth year to really
Mhm.
start to see some benefits of it. Maybe your journey can be a little faster because you can find solutions to speed it up, but it will take commitment and a lot of frustration to get some little reward. But I think the bigger picture is this industry needs to find those little rewards to improve the business model.
Absolutely. I think that is one of the challenges I think that we're seeing is that it seems like a big undertaking and that we can't just, oh, in 3 months we'll have a little AI thing spun up and,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work. But what I'm hoping that people can see is that we need to get started on the work because the work needs to be done
Yes.
and the outcomes are tremendously impactful. The cost benefit is very favorable. It's just that it takes some time. And when you started on the journey of, you're pulling in your resident data and your employee data, I assume in some sort of data lake or, uh,
Yes.
and then figuring out what are we layering on top of this and what are we doing with that information. I mean, did you have just internal resources? Like, how would someone listening right now who's like, I don't even know how to go about that,
Yeah.
what could
Yeah.
you say to them?
Yeah. So we started it by a committee. It started by people interested in improving the process, and now we've built an entire team dedicated to it. So find those thought leaders.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, wait, we it, realistically gamers, people who have been embracing technology all their life and have thought about it in ways you and I couldn't even imagine. If they can connect that skill set to their work, there's a level of meaning that comes from it that is transformative. And we were fortunate to have a couple of those folks emerge and now run we call it our vision team, so that they can be forward thinking and run our implementation plan, our strategies. So those people exist, and you'd be surprised at how they will come to you. And the head of our program started off as a business office director, and prior to that was a store manager at a Walgreens. And I always joke around about it, but his level of critical thinking and like his interest in just exploring is unlike anything I've ever imagined. But if I provided you his resume, you'd question the judgment. But he demonstrated it in a way that made a lot of sense. Why not have a task force or form a committee of interdisciplinary committee to start to think about how your business functions and ways to improve it? You'd be surprised that those conversations don't happen enough. Everybody thinks I've got my policies, I've got my processes, but we're in a state of desperate need to reimagine those. And this is a new opportunity that I would encourage to be your first step in this journey.
Wow. I love that. You're harvesting this this knowledge and this excitement within your organization that you may not even realize exists today just by kind of coming together, setting a vision, right? And saying, here's some things that we want to accomplish. We don't know what it looks like yet, but let's find people who can really champion this and have the expertise that they can bring to the table and the drive and initiative and different skill sets, right? So that is such a cool story. And we're out of time, but I just so appreciate you, Stephanie, coming on and really sharing these real world experiences so that folks can really start to develop their own AI, readiness roadmap and ideas. And sounds like forming a committee is a really good first step. So,
Yep. Well, thank you.
all right. Thanks, Stephanie.
All right.